Okay, so some archaeologists dug up in Egypt, around the city of Alexandria, this black sarcophagus. Right, it measures something like 6 feet by 9 feet, and they think it's been in the ground. It was like 16 feet in the ground. They think it's been in there for about 2,000 years. First of all, no one knows what or who is inside this sarcophagus, and for all of our low intellectual listeners, that means like a tomb or like a crypt or like a coffin, right?
So wait. Usually these sarcophagi, see what I did there? Usually these sarcophagi. So the sarcophagi are usually in specific places, right? Where we know who's in there, with like hieroglyphs that say this is the tomb of King Tut or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This is basically an unmarked grave.
There was no sign. There were no writings, I guess, that would indicate who it was, other than it was probably an Egyptian of some wealth and importance. All right, but here's the question. Do we open it? Because do we want the mummy returns? Because this is how you get the mummy returns.
I think the only people, or the only person that should open it is Brendan Fraser. Anyone else
He is
opens
by
it?
far
No.
the most well-equipped.
Yes, absolutely. He can swing it on a vine and open it, and he'll be fine.
Plus, he can take it to the center of the earth.
And that's probably about all he could do.
Also, he may have known this person in a previous life in Encino. Man.
But with that, welcome everybody to the Subjectively Correct Sports Podcast. We have a very special guest today, Adam Henderson, my brother. So I'm recording with Adam in Las Vegas. Anthony is at home in Dallas, and we're here to bring you the only sports show on the internet or podcast where you get guys talking about sports and other stuff. Right? So let's get to it.
That was smooth, David.
Thanks. It was the best segue I've ever had.
Buttery smooth.
Buttery smooth. And Adam with his first contribution. Thank you. Buttery smooth.
Hey, Adam. How's it going? Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
Another smooth transition. Good. All right. So I want to talk about the story that happened recently. So the Green Bay Packers, for people who don't know, they're a publicly traded franchise company thing.
That's an NFL team.
What did I say?
No, you didn't say anything. You said Green Bay Packers. I think my mom listens to this podcast, so we should let them know which sport we're talking about.
Good call. Okay, so the Green Bay Packers are a professional football team who plays in a league called the NFL, which is split into two conferences. One was formerly the American Football League. The other one was the National Football League by itself. And now there are two conferences, the American Football Conference, which constitutes all of the teams that were in the American Football League before, when they merged, right? So they call it the NFL with the American Football.
I'm going to stop you. This is boring.
Adam, another valuable contribution. Thank you. Okay, so the Packers are a publicly traded company, basically. So all of their financials have to be made public by law. So that's the only way we get a lot of this information about NFL teams and what they make. So the revenue share numbers came in. And off the top of my head, I don't remember. Was it $255 million of revenue share?
$255 million to each team. Yeah, a check for $255 million.
Okay, and that doesn't include jersey sales and tickets and concessions and whatever other sponsorship deals and stuff they have in the stadium, around the stadium, during their local games and stuff, the local radio hits.
You know they're pulling in $20 million on bratwurst sales alone.
Oh, just
in Green Bay.
especially in Wisconsin. Imagine the cheese sales. They probably make $20 million a year on the cheese heads.
The curds alone, David.
On the curds alone. But this brings up an interesting point. So everyone was saying ratings are down. The league is suffering because of protests and other problems that they're having and things like that. But the numbers would indicate that that is bogus. I mean, $255 million just in revenue sharing per team. The league's doing fine.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how that compares to previous years. But either way, that's $255 million, and I think their salary cap, the team salary cap, is something like $177 million. I think I read that somewhere, right? And so they're clearing just on the revenue share check, what, $80 million? That's not counting all the other money they're bringing in. So yeah, these owners are doing just fine.
Right. And that's why these teams are selling for billions of dollars, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. Like no one wants to hear billionaires cry foul, right?
Right.
That they're not making enough money. At the same time, they're shelling out for these teams, right? They're coming out of their own pocket to own them. I don't begrudge anyone from wanting to make more money.
Yeah, of course not.
But that goes the same for the players too, right? I
Right.
feel like you should compensate the players what they deserve.
Yeah, and I feel like the NBA has a much better CBA than the NFL does. The baseball contracts are insane, and that's because I don't know if you knew this, but Curt Flood was a baseball player, and I think in the 60s or 70s, right when color TV was big. That's how I remember. But he was the first baseball free agent, and he sued the league so that he could be a free agent in baseball. And that was the first sport to have free agency. And so it makes sense that baseball would be ahead of football in this when they're not really ahead of the other sports in anything.
Yeah. And the really like kind of tragic thing about the NFL, it's the league where the most injuries occur, where your career is cut short most often, right? I think like players have like a 3-4 year average in the league, something like that.
Yeah, well, do you remember a couple years ago when DeMarco Murray was one of the best players in football?
Yeah.
And now he's retired at 30?
And now he's retired, yeah. Yeah, Barry Sanders, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, retired in his prime, right? Just because he didn't want to take the beating every week. And these contracts are not guaranteed, right? In the NBA, you could sign a $150 million contract, tear your Achilles, and never play another game and make all $150 million, right? The NFL, if you're injured or your play declines, doesn't matter how long your contract is or for how much. Most of these contracts are not guaranteed, so they could cut you in the middle of the season, at the end of the season, and you don't get the remaining years on your contract.
And is that a players union issue? Is that an NFL players union issue? Should they just get rid of whoever's in charge of that and start over with a new CBA? Because it seems like the more and more we talk about it here, the more and more the other leagues have it figured out when it comes to playing their players, paying their players. Every league plays their players.
It's definitely a collective bargaining issue. And what needs to happen is the players need to lock out to the point where it hurts the owners. The problem is, like we just said, whereas in baseball and the NBA, you can take off a year or two and still be in your prime. In the NFL, you may only have a 2 or 3 year window to make money. And so who are we to tell that NFL player that they need to sit out a year and take a year off of their potential time to earn money for their family, so to benefit the next generation of players? It's really hard, and I don't know that you're going to get anyone to really do it. And football's so weird, not weird, but it's so different than the NBA, where the NBA is so star driven, right? If LeBron sat out, if KD sat out, the league would really suffer. Any one football player or group of football players is not going to make that big of a difference.
We've all seen the replacements. We know how this goes.
Keanu Reeves is going to come in and save the league.
And do a dance.
I don't remember the dance.
I think this is all part of a bigger narrative about the NFL and how it treats its players affects how people perceive the league as a whole. Like you just said, the NBA is very successful because it's so star-powered. I feel if the NFL marketed their players more effectively and put them on a pedestal like LeBron James or Kevin Durant or anything, that it would be even more successful than it is now. And people wouldn't be saying, oh, I'm going to stop watching football because of how they're treating players. And I guess it's also about
right, but I see what you're saying. But it's such a difficult sport to connect to the players. They're wearing the helmet. We can't see their eyes. The only time we see their reactions is when they go to the sidelines. And, Cam Newton's yelling at the head coach, and he's like, oh, that's not good. That's bad leadership. He's immature. Tom Brady does the same thing, and he's a fiery, passionate leader. We can get into that later. Or not. Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can. I don't know. Also, like, the team is so big, right? There's like 50-something players on an active roster.
55 by the end of the season, yeah.
in baseball you have a 25-man roster. In basketball you have a 12 to 15-man roster, and so you can actually like know all the players and know about them and follow them individually. Like there's no way I'm going to learn 55 players names or really care about that many. And so yeah, I think there is some disconnect between the fans and the players, and it's something that's hard to I think it's going to be hard to address. I just don't know how they overcome it without some kind of significant lockout, and I don't know if any players will really be willing to give up
Right,
their
and that
money.
reminds me of, you talk about it's hard to put the players on a pedestal because it seems like there are very few players in the NFL that aren't plug and play. Like DeMarco Murray, like I said, on that Cowboys team, he was a phenom. Everyone thought he was one of the best running backs in the league. What is he going to be later? We were all looking at DeMarco Murray. He goes to the Titans and disappears and retires. So it makes me think, who could have dominated like he did with the Cowboys offensive line? Could it
Well,
have
I
been
think
anybody?
you saw it the next year with Ezekiel Elliott, right?
Yes.
He came in as a rookie and was one of the best running backs in the league. And was he really one of the best running backs in the league? No, he had one of the best offensive lines, and he took advantage of it, right? Just like Emmitt Smith did all those years.
Right.
Um,
And that thing, that's one of the problems with the NFL. We don't know who's good.
yeah,
I mean,
we don't know who's
me,
good at all. Yeah,
yeah, we don't
right.
know. I mean, Tony Romo knows. He predicts plays for crying out loud. But you, me, and the guys on the couch, when we're watching basketball, we watch LeBron James dribble through three guys and dunk on JaVale McGee. Oh, he's good.
Well,
But we watch.
even the NFL GMs don't know who's good, right?
Right.
How many whiffs are there in the draft? Or even like what's his name, Matt Flynn, who was Aaron Rodgers' backup? Was it Matt Flynn who got like a massive contract from the Seahawks and
Right.
didn't ever start a game?
Right.
He had like
He,
three
he had
amazing
one
starts
awesome game.
because
He had
Aaron
one
Rodgers
awesome
was
game
out.
for the Green Bay Packers when Aaron Rodgers was resting at the end of the season, and because of that like 7 touchdown game or whatever it was, the Seahawks signed with this massive deal, and Russell Wilson came in and won the starting job in training camp. And so like even these GMs can't evaluate talent properly. Like how are we supposed to?
Right. And so I think that's one of the major disconnects too. Like basketball, you can tell who's good. Baseball, it's easy to look at the stats and tell who's good. But football, man, it's just such a team sport you don't know. You know what I do know though? Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady.
How do you know that?
The eye test, Adam.
I was gonna say, did some guy on ESPN tell you that?
No, I just feel that way.
Oh, okay, he's pretty good.
Aaron Rodgers wants it more. He has a greater will
Exactly.
to win.
Exactly. The clutch
And he has-
gene.
So this
And
whole
he's a beautiful
conversation
facial
about
hair.
like players getting their money though, I want to take it a different direction. So Cristiano Ronaldo, Portuguese soccer player,
Who?
who had an exciting couple of games in the World Cup before his team got eliminated. He recently transferred clubs from Real Madrid to Juventus. I don't really know how to say it.
Juventus.
Okay, whatever.
It's Italian,
But
Anthony.
an Italian club, right?
Aren't
And
you
he's
Italian?
getting paid $282 million over 4 years. $282 million over 4 years. That's $70.5 million per year. Okay,
It's a lot of money.
$70.5 million. LeBron James, the best basketball player in the world,
Ever.
signed a 4-year deal as well with the Lakers, and he was maxed out at 100. I think it was about $153 million over 4
And when you
years.
say maxed out, you mean the rules of how the salary cap works in basketball means he
Mhm.
can only get paid that much. He can't get paid
He got
more.
paid the most amount of money he could possibly be paid over those 4 years, and it was capped at $153 million, which for most of us would be a pretty decent living.
I'd be okay with that.
38 million and change per year.
I can live with that.
But he's the very best at what he does in the world, right? And you have some sports like baseball and soccer where players aren't restricted in what they can earn. And so you get a player like Ronaldo who's proven his value to the league and to fans, and he gets paid $70 million a year. So I guess the question is, if there weren't a salary cap in football and basketball, what would these star players be making? Because if I'm an owner, I'm going to pay whatever it takes to retain them.
I know exactly what you mean. So Cleveland, the city of Cleveland, and the Cleveland area, got an economic boost because LeBron James lived there and worked there, right? And now Los Angeles, a team that doesn't need the LeBron bump, is going to get the LeBron bump and it'll move the needle. LeBron can move the needle in any city in the world. And I don't think Ronaldo would do the same thing, well, at least in America.
I was gonna say he'll do that just about anywhere else in the world, just not America.
Yeah, just not America. Yeah. So
Yeah, well, so like the Warriors, for example, right? I think the owner Joe Lake bought the Warriors for something like 400 and something million dollars, right? Several years ago, and the team was like recently valued at $2.5 billion.
yeah, woof.
So what? And that was before KD came
Right.
over. So like, what is Steph Curry's worth, right? He, not that he did it single-handedly, but he was probably the biggest factor in them becoming a championship team. And so his value is maybe $1 billion, maybe more, right?
Especially to the owner. To the owner, these
To the
players are worth a
owner.
lot more than they're getting paid. And LeBron's been saying that for years. He's been saying, because of the rules, I'm not getting paid what I'm worth.
Yeah. So it's not going to happen. There's no scenario where NBA players are just going to start making whatever ownership is willing to pay them, just because the owner, it's already locked in, right? They've already got a collective bargaining agreement. I think the owners would revolt. It would take the players sitting out again. We'll see. I don't know. I just think it would be really interesting to see what these players could actually be worth.
And I think the Ronaldo to LeBron is a perfect comparison. They're the same age. They're considered the best at what they do. And like I said, they move the economic needle. So I think that's a really good comparison.
So David, did you watch the World Cup?
I did as much as I could.
Yeah. What
When
about you,
Argentina
Adam?
lost, I was like, I don't care as much. But yeah, I watched as much as I could.
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
I caught some clips here and there.
Awesome.
I'm a big
I
soccer
actually
fan.
ended up watching probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 matches in the whole tournament, which is 6 or 7 more soccer matches I think than I've ever watched before. So it was a banner year for me in my soccer watching. And I kind of really started to like this Croatian team. I got really pumped when they beat Russia in penalty kicks in the quarterfinals, and it was just really cool to see them. They ended up losing to France in the World Cup final. France was just clearly a better team. That looks like they have more star talent, and it was really cool to see the celebrations afterwards. So France just went all crazy. They had Bastille Day the day before the World Cup final, so they were already in party mode, and it just carried over into their victory. But then they had some images from this parade in Croatia where they were welcoming the Croatian national team home, and they said 500,000 people showed up to welcome them.
Just to welcome the team home, like at the airport.
Just to celebrate them. Well, it was like in some square. I think they, had some kind of parade, right? But 500,000 people. Do you know what the population of Croatia is?
You ready? My geography teacher is going to be proud. 4 million.
That's right. Just a little over 4 million. So that's 12% of the country was there to congratulate the second place team, right? And they obviously overperformed. It was a great showing for the country. Everyone was super excited. But this got me thinking, what could possibly compare to that for America? What would be America's World Cup? Because, soccer is gaining in popularity, but if we won, it's news, but it's not like the whole country isn't taking the day off and celebrating, right? Is there anything that would get America so excited, I get on a sports level, where we would just kind of collectively get together and celebrate this achievement? I can't think of anything.
No, because there is nothing. We definitely don't care about soccer that much. Although maybe in 20, 30 years, that'll be the case. We'll see if soccer continues to grow. But I think we're so used to the best basketball teams being here, the best baseball teams being here, the best football team, the only football teams
Take
being
that,
here.
Canada.
Yeah, take that, Canada. And the best hockey teams. Like, we take other people's sports and we're better at them too. Sorry, Canada. But, we're so used to all of that happening here that when we don't win the gold medal in women's soccer, if we don't win the gold medal in whatever team sport we're doing, basketball, for example, when we lost in basketball, it was like an American tragedy, right? And
But when we win, it's just like a Tuesday, right?
Right.
Because you expect it.
yes, so I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything in sports that'll do that. In fact, I don't think there's anything in the universe that would make Americans go out there and celebrate that way. I mean, the whole universe.
Has there ever been anything comparable to the Croatian thing? My first thought was like Miracle on Ice.
Probably
Probably the Miracle
walking
on
on
Ice.
the moon. Maybe walking on the moon was
moon.
the last time. It was the last time collectively America was like, yeah, we did it. What's up, world?
Yep, that's right. And then we stuck it to Russia later too. It's like first to the moon, and we beat your hockey team. What up? Do you
And really, that
believe
was
in
just like the
miracles?
state of
Yes.
that was like the states of Minnesota and Massachusetts, really.
It wasn't the full country, just the
Mike
states.
Aruzione's family, the whole block was just like going crazy.
They had one heck of a barbecue that afternoon.
Yeah, so I guess it kind of makes me sad. Like these smaller European countries and stuff, like, and even like South America. Could you imagine if Argentina or Peru or Brazil, you get to see it every once in a while?
So
but
I was in Argentina. The team that won the League Cup there, it was River Plate. Yeah, River Plate. That's what they're called. I know it's a Spanish-speaking country. It's not El Plato del Rio or whatever. No, it's River Plate. Okay. Boca Juniors is the other big team, right? Anyway, so I was living in downtown Cordoba, which is the second biggest city in Argentina. The River Plate won the league, and they shut down the city for a night and a day. A night and a day, the whole city is shut down because a club team won. Could you imagine if the Argentine national team won? Oh,
Things would get messy.
right. So we have a rare opportunity with a tennis expert.
Stop.
Okay, not so much a tennis expert, but Adam, who 4
is
years
this
ago.
wait, is this Wii tennis?
Oh, is it?
Stop.
Okay.
I know real tennis. Please.
Okay. So I think 4 years ago, Adam knew a lot more about tennis than Adam now does, though, right?
So I stopped watching all TV, anything connected with the world, for 2 years. Before that, I knew everything about tennis.
Okay.
Ask me about anything.
Okay,
But
there we go.
now I'm a little shaky, but I watched Wimbledon.
Okay, there we go. That's all I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the Miami, Florida Open Classic for the blind, whatever. But oh, that makes me sound
Wow.
anti-blind.
Wow.
I love blind people.
Do you
I
know
really
any blind
do.
People?
What?
Do you know any blind people?
No. We're
Trivia
talking about
question.
something else now.
Best blind tennis player. Adam, you know everything about tennis. Go.
Give it to Andy Roddick. If he were blind, he has a good serve.
There you go.
Apply some muscle memory in there. Get in the right spot every time.
Just his service dog takes him out to the serving position and then go. Like Daredevil.
So what's the tennis update? I know Wimbledon happened, right? We
Oh,
got
yeah. Okay, so what I
Come
wanted
on.
to talk about. So Serena Williams, I watched a little bit of the final, and she looked really tired, which makes sense, because she's coming off of a devastating injury. Right? I mean, 10 months ago, she had a baby. And then she had to breastfeed the baby or whatever. And her pregnancy and when she actually gave birth wasn't like a normal birth. She had like health issues during that and stuff. So anyway, so I'm definitely putting that under the major injuries category. You guys with me?
Yeah, she like lost 9 pounds of muscle. Just
Yeah.
like that.
Right? Oh, because it was a baby in there. I see what she did. I ruined the joke. Anyway, so she's in the final, which is super impressive. So pregnant Serena wins the Australian Open, right? And then she has the baby, and less than a year later, and all the doctors say it takes more than a year for a woman's body to fully recover. I don't know how long it is, but it's definitely more than a year, definitely more than 10 months for a woman's body to recover. And then she almost makes it to the peak of her sport again. Serena Williams is amazing.
Best female tennis player of all time.
Hands down. She might be the best tennis player, period.
I don't know about that.
Okay, moving on. So then another
Tennis
star, another star, our tennis expert bringing it strong. So another star of the tennis world, Roger Federer. He loses to Kevin Anderson. And I know what all of you are saying. Who? Exactly. So then Roger Federer loses. Is it the end of Roger Federer? We're worried about that. At least tennis people are. But
prisoner of the moment, please. Like Stephen A. Smith.
whoa.
Been here. Roger Federer will come back next major, play well, be great.
I think
What
he
is the
just
next major?
needs to improve his diet. Too many Lindor chocolates.
Mm.
He's getting too old for that. You gotta cut the carbs.
So, Novak Djokovic won.
Djokovic?
You know,
what?
so I did see one match, or at least was kind of following it. So Djokovic played Kevin Anderson. Kevin Anderson in the semifinal played the really tall American Isner.
Rocket serve.
And both of them have like an amazing serve and are super tall and kind of gangly, and so they're not like the quickest, right? But they're super good when they're serving, and so like they hardly ever dropped a set. And Wimbledon has this like quirky rule that I don't think any of the other Grand Slams have, where when you end a match, a set tied, you go to the tie break, right? Which is just you got to win by 2 first to 7. Okay. But in the last set, you can't do the tie break. You've got to win by 2 games. Okay. So you just like keep playing regular tennis until someone wins by 2 games. And so Kevin Anderson ended up beating Isner. I think it was like 26-24 in the final set.
Dude, Isner will play you for months. He'll stay out there for a month.
Well, Isner is now part of the 2 longest matches in Wimbledon history. The longest, he had one that when it was like the hundreds. It was like a few years ago. It was like an 8-hour match 11-hour match that took place over 3 days.
You're kidding.
3 days. And so his match with Isner, I think, was in the 6-hour range, a little over 6 hours. But it pushed Djokovic and Nadal, who were in the other semifinal. They couldn't finish their match that night, and so they ended up finishing the next day when Djokovic won. But it's like such a disadvantage to Anderson after playing this 6-hour match, right? To then a day and a half later have to play Djokovic again, right? Who's, obviously I think he's just a better tennis player and probably would have won no matter how much rest they had. Yeah. But this is happening, or at least it's happened a few times now, where you just have these incredibly long matches because no one can pull away in the final set. So I don't have many tennis takes, but my only passionate tennis take is just let him do a tie break in the final set. What a weird rule.
No,
like,
no, Anthony. England is the home of tennis.
Is it?
I don't know, is it?
I don't know, is it?
Oh. We're going to call England the home of tennis. And in the home of tennis, you got to be unique, you got to be different.
I feel like that's a rule across all majors.
Is it?
Is it not?
All Grand Slams?
Grand Slams.
No, I mean majors. Majors.
I don't know.
They're
If it is, it should be changed. It should be changed in every other Grand Slam.
No,
too.
Anthony, calm down. I know this is your only tennis hot take, but you don't need to melt the microphone with it. Calm down.
It's coming in hot.
Alright, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a jaguar that escaped in a zoo in Ohio, I think. And he ate some things, like some other animals, some antelope, stuff like that. And
as jaguars do.
I mean, it's jaguar gonna do what jaguar do, and jaguar eat
Jaguar
animals.
give a jaguar.
That's right. And just like the Philippine basketball team and the Australian basketball team, I felt bad because I found that hilarious. After multiple viewings, I found myself saying, "Good for you, Jaguar." I didn't feel bad at all. Like, you could have eaten Bambi, and I would have been like, "Cool, he's a jaguar." So I'm starting to think I am a bad person.
This jaguar killed all of the alpaca in the zoo. There's some kid that's going to the zoo this week, hoping to see his favorite animal, the alpaca, the glorious alpaca. He's gonna be told, sorry, the jaguar ate all 4 of them. What a gluttonous, selfish jaguar.
He's been pent up for too long, man. That's just too long to not hunt alpaca.
You can take the jungle. Nope, messed it up.
Yes, you did. You want to try again?
Nah, I'm good.